in now Lawson Naidoo from the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution. He's also been watching these proceedings to hear from you. Lawson, how is the president of ANC carrying himself? And Professor Siepe there at the end, bringing the issue of the CR17, that maybe there needs to be more inquiry around that than what's been coming out so far. What's your view?
Good afternoon, Dan. Thank you very much. Look, I think the president has taken the opportunity, particularly in his opening statement yesterday, to set out the stall of the ANC, and he said very clearly that he's not there to defend the indefensible. He's not there to make excuses. But I think what has been lacking in Mr. Ramaphosa's evidence or testimony is really taking responsibility on behalf of the party for what actually happened. To simply say, yes, that shouldn't have happened, we should have done things differently, there was what he referred to as a massive system failure. But he's not really, I don't think, providing the Commission and Deputy Chief Justice Zondo with the kind of information that the Commission requires to execute its mandate. To say that things have changed, we're going to do things differently in future. And whilst basically still saying that the mechanisms that we have in place, the deployment committee of the ANC, for example, will just make sure that it functions better. The issue of the CR17 and internal party funding, the president was quite contradictory. On the one hand, he says the secrecy was essential so that he was not aware of who the donors to the CR17 campaign were. On the other hand, he says internal party contests should be regulated in the same way as the new Political Party Funding Act, where there's total openness and transparency. So I think that it's been difficult for the president to answer some of these questions. The evidence leaders haven't really honed in on the issues. In fact, it's really been left up to Deputy Chief Justice Zondo to really pick up the issues and ask the more pointed and direct questions.
Is it a case, I mean, I've been watching as well, it's like disarming them. He's always saying, I concede, yes, I agree, and I concede. And in hindsight, we could have done different. So there's not a point to argue there. And then they sort of move on to another issue. And then we hear a lot of giggles as well this morning. I noticed that there's a lot of laughing that's happening.
It was a very relaxed mood at the Commission this morning in particular, and the president needs to be asked, some deeper questions. And one example is what arose yesterday, where Advocate Pretorius raised the issue of a number of appointments to various state-owned companies, and didn't pursue the line of questioning in saying, in respect of this particular appointment of so-and-so to the ESCOM management, for example, how did that happen? If the deployment committee, of which you were the chair at the time, was not involved, what did you do about it? So those are some of the questions I think that the Commission has failed to ask. But there will, of course, be another opportunity, Dan, when the President returns towards the end of May in his capacity as head of state. And he may well then be forced to answer some of those questions.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see.
As well as questions as to why some people who have been implicated in state capture and corruption continue to serve in his own national executive.
I was wondering about that step-aside resolution as well, because if he's on stand since yesterday as ANC president, it is an ANC resolution. And as you said, some people who are very prominent are still holding positions in the party. It would have been interesting to hear his view, but maybe it's still going to be asked that, Lawson. What have you got to say very briefly?
Well, I think, the step-aside rule and the ANC internally dealing with corruption proves how difficult it is, even under the new leadership that was elected at Nasrec. We've had this since August of last year. The deadline for step-aside is supposed to be tomorrow, and we're waiting to see what will happen.
We're all waiting to see, yes.
Is that resolution going to be implemented, or is the can going to be kicked down the road once again?
K6, Lawson Naidoo, thank you very much on the Midday View. Some of your insights as well. Earlier we heard a little bit from Professor Sipho Siepe of University of Zululand. eNCA